We're now live.
Is there any talk about meeting in person now that the rules have changed?
There is some talk about it. The city council, I know, was working hard to put together what they're calling a hybrid meeting with the planning board on some things. I don't know if they worked out the details of how that's going to happen yet, but I know the city council is looking at ways to get back to some at least hybrid in-person meetings. So I don't know how long it'll take for that to trickle down to the rest of us.
Yeah, I'd like to know how we're gonna handle something like that, because we're gonna need some sort of projection screen, and I know there's something in the boardroom, but
yep.
I'm confused on how we would handle that.
Yeah, it's tricky because then you have a sort of like live audience, and then you've got people at home, and the people at home should be able to see all the same things that the people live are seeing.
Right.
And then the question answer stuff is going to be a little trickier to manage, but that's why we're letting the city council figure out those details first.
Well, I think anybody that is allowed in the boardroom should be fully vaccinated.
Yeah, that's a good point. That there will probably be some, obviously there'll be some like COVID related restrictions associated with it, I hope.
Hi, Ron.
Hi, everyone. How you doing?
Once Gretchen, there's Gretchen. Was Dan still planning on coming, Julie? Do you know?
I didn't hear from anybody that they weren't going to be here, so I'd expect that Dan will be here too.
Okay. Well, I will start at 6:45.
Okay. Is Paul here? Yep, Paul's here. Yep.
All right. It is 6:45. Let's bring this meeting to order. This is the May 18th, 2021 Newburyport Conservation Commission meeting taking place on the Zoom platform. This meeting is being recorded. The first item on the agenda are the approval of the meeting minutes from May 4th, 2021. Anybody have any comments or questions? One thing I have is I talked with Julie earlier, Gloria Brownhart. Brownhart spelled Braunhardt, Gretchen. So if we can make that change.
I think I pasted it from the agenda.
You did, because I'm the one who spelled it wrong. I apologize.
Anybody else have anything?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Roll call, Paul Healy,
Yes.
Steve Moore,
Yes.
Dan Warshall. Oh, Dan's not here. Duh. David Vine,
Yes.
Ron DeCola.
I think I have to abstain. I wasn't at the meeting. Is that right?
I think you can. Okay. Carol Wagon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right. Next item is Plum Island updates. We have anything?
We don't really, unless David or anyone else can think of something. We don't have any updates in terms of permitting or projects out there, work proposed or taking place.
Yeah, there's a MRBA meeting. I think it's next the 4th. Is it the
June
Friday?
4th. Yeah.
a Zoom meeting.
Okay, yeah.
And I assume we haven't heard anything further on that project. I guess it's with MIPA now. Julia, do you know if there's anything further?
Yeah, no, you're right, David. It's with MIPA. The ENF has been submitted. We've had comments on the notice of intent and on the ENF coming from Natural Heritage and from Marine Fisheries and some of the other agencies involved in review, coastal zone management. And we put a special condition in our order that sort of refers to the project being in compliance with any special conditions issued by other agencies. And there really haven't been anything coming from them of substance that we need to worry about, nothing that would actually change the project. So I'll let you know if there is anything like that. I was out there yesterday though, and it has continued to be damaged by storms and tides and things. It looks worse than it did before in terms of the erosion. The blocks are tumbled down further onto the beach. Everything just looks a little bit lower. So I hope that they can get moving on it. Of course, the plover season is April 1 to September 1. So it could be that at this point, they end up waiting until the fall to actually do the work. Which, just have to hope that it's a quiet summer out there.
Yeah, well, they'll figure it out. I'm sure they can get a plover monitor too if they need to.
Right.
Because
But,
there really hasn't been a storm to cause any significant damage that I can remember. Maybe
No.
Well,
high tides.
there's been good wind and, there's not a lot of beach there anyway, so
Oh.
I wouldn't take much.
Yeah, it
No,
doesn't take as much as it used to.
Hi, Dan. All right. So we don't have any certificates of compliance or anything like that. So we'll go on to public hearings. Can I get a motion to open the public hearings?
So moved.
Second,
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. First item is the city of Newburyport, Upper Artichoke Reservoir Dam, notice of intent, continued from 5/4/21.
Okay, can you all see, first I'm gonna promote to panelists, Sarah and Micah.
It's up there.
Okay, so you can see their PowerPoint slides. Okay, great.
Yes.
If there's anybody else who needs to be promoted to a panelist from the project team, let me know.
Yeah, if you could add Micah, please.
Sure, I think I did add Micah. He just may have not
Oh.
sort of transferred over yet, but yeah, there he is. So you can all unmute yourselves. It looks like Sarah. Okay.
All right, well, thank you. Good evening, commissioners. My name again is Sarah Kreisel. I'm here from the BSC group representing the applicant, the city of Newburyport. I served as ecological project manager for the project, and I'm here with Micah Morrison, engineering and overall project manager. And I'm not sure I see anyone from the city joining us, so I won't
I don't
introduce them.
see anyone either.
If I could ask you to go to the pictures, please.
Sure.
The project straddles the municipal line with West Newbury, and an NOI has been submitted separately for the work proposed in the town of West Newbury. The proposed project is for the replacement of the structurally deficient bridge crossing of Plummer Spring Road over the Upper Artichoke Reservoir, which was closed in 2018 to vehicular traffic due to undermining of the paved roadway foundation. West Newbury has secured a $1 million MassWorks infrastructure grant for the design and construction of the replacement, and Newburyport has secured a $500,000 MassDOT small bridge grant for the design and construction of the replacement. The NOI before the commission has been filed for impacts to bank, land under water bodies and waterways, bordering land subject to flooding, the 200-foot riverfront area, and the 100-foot buffer zone to bank within the city of Newburyport as a result of the proposed work. The project was previously presented to the commission on February 2nd of 2021. Commissioners from both the town of West Newbury and city of Newburyport met us for a site walk on Sunday, February 7th, 2021. Following discussion with the commissions at respective hearings and at the site walk, the proposed updates to the design before you today are concessions that the communities have made for increased stormwater treatment along the proposed roadway, which will result in the additional protection of the reservoir. The next slide, please. The roadway and bridge were originally constructed over the Artichoke River in 1891. The area was later dammed up and became the Artichoke Reservoir as it exists today. The bridge crossing itself straddles the municipal line between Middle Street, West Newbury, and Plummer Spring Road, Newburyport. The project occurs 0.4 miles west of the intersection with Turkey Hill Road, Newburyport, on an existing paved road, which is classified as a rural local road. The nearest house is more than 750 feet away. While the roadway is flat, removal of some trees along the slopes down to the reservoir will be necessary for access and construction. Next slide, please. The existing structure is a single span earth-filled stone arch and is approximately 14.3 feet wide, 13.2 feet high, and 24.2 feet long. Portions of the bridge, stone head wall, and southeast approach roadway have collapsed and the paved roadway foundation is undermined. The Upper Artichoke Reservoir flows northerly in an open water area and is bounded by protected forested lands. While bankful width for the Artichoke River is 28.4 feet as reported by StreamStats, the reservoir itself is much wider. The minimum width for stream crossing standards is 34 feet, but the proposed new clear span is 41.5 feet. Stream bed near the crossing is characterized by sand and cobbles with trace amounts of silt and gravel. The crossing is located within Zone AE for the 100-year storm event at and below the 13-foot base flood elevation. The Artichoke Reservoir is a Class A public water supply and outstanding resource water. There is no rare species habitat in the project area, and neither the Upper Artichoke Reservoir nor the river are EPA impaired waterways nor cold water fisheries. Next slide, please. The proposed project is characterized as a redevelopment project, but will preserve undisturbed areas adjacent to the crossing to the maximum extent practicable. The proposed project design complies with the Massachusetts stream crossing standards as required for a limited project under the Wetland Protection Act. The crossing is proposed to be replaced by a precast concrete structure that will follow a similar horizontal and vertical alignment as the existing bridge that will continue to have an open bottom with natural stream bed material. The proposed span length will increase from 14 feet to 45 feet. The overall width of the bridge will be 32.5 feet to accommodate safety improvements, including a sidewalk on the south side. Next slide, please. In accordance with the MassDOT Bridge Manual for a rural local road, the proposed bridge has been designed to meet the 10-year flood frequency storm event, can accommodate the 100-year flood frequency storm event, and increases the hydraulic opening by a factor of 2 compared to the existing conditions. Additionally, while the low chord of the bridge will stay the same, the proposed roadway elevation will be 1.5 feet higher, which will help mitigate possible roadway flooding. The proposed bridge will have a slightly larger footprint than the existing bridge, which will improve the openness and span size over the reservoir, which in turn will provide environmental benefits such as improved wildlife passage and connectivity, and the increased hydraulic opening will better facilitate reservoir maintenance. Next slide, please. The proposed permanent impacts to wetland resource areas have been minimized to the extent practicable, and all temporarily impacted areas will be reseeded with an appropriate seed mix. As a quick summary, impacts to land underwater, bank, and bordering land subject to flooding will remain the same as proposed in the original submittal from January 2021, and will be restored, replaced, or even increased to the extent practicable within the project area. No BVW impacts will occur as a result of this project, as there are no BVWs in the project vicinity. Next slide, please. Impact calculations to riverfront area have increased slightly, approximately 116 square feet with the new water treatment elements proposed, and now approximately 1,333 square feet of permanent impacts to riverfront area are proposed in Newburyport. An additional 154 square feet of temporary impacts are required also for construction. Erosion and sedimentation controls will be installed prior to construction to protect the waterway and will be removed upon completion of the project once the site is stabilized. Work will occur behind cofferdams so that the work can occur in the dry, but the exact methodology is up to the contractor. As discussed in our last hearing, the contractor is to prepare dewatering and stabilization plans, and they'll be required to submit them to the Conservation Commission for approval prior to the start of the work. Existing conditions in Newburyport utilize country drainage for stormwater treatment, and the NOI submittal from January 2021 proposed no additional treatment. The municipalities now propose the addition of 2 deep sump catch basins on either side of the roadway, just before the ends of the retaining walls. The deep sump catch basins will flow to a 900-gallon water quality unit. From there, runoff is directed south to a flared end section that discharges towards the reservoir onto a stone splash pad. These additions will ensure the treatment of some of the stormwater entering the reservoir by reducing the amount entering by country drainage. The project limits will generally stay the same as previously proposed. Between the deep sump catch basins and the water quality units, more than 80% of the total suspended solids will be removed from runoff captured by the catch basins across the entire project area. Lastly, the applicant is requesting a waiver from the Newburyport Wetlands Protection Ordinance for work within the 25-foot no disturbance zone and the 100-foot buffer zone. Due to the nature of this publicly funded and supported project, it is infeasible to move work outside of these locations. Impacts to wetland resource areas were mitigated to the extent practicable, and various alternatives were evaluated in choosing the final design. And with that, I'd like to open it up to the commission for any questions. And there's additional slides that have been presented as part of the plans if we need them for discussion purposes.
I have a question. What will happen to the wildlife that lives in that water currently? Because I know there's fish and I've seen swans and I don't know, I'm sure there's other creatures.
The I think it's currently 14 feet wide, the opening right now. 7 feet will be maintained. So there's actually going to be continual water passage allowable. Do you want to, Julie, if I can trouble you, go down a few slides? We had that right below shield. Yeah, that one right there. So you can see that water, the open water area will be maintained during construction. And I'm sure Micah could speak better to that than I could, if you have additional questions for it.
Are those the cofferdams in the bottom left there? What are the upright?
The one that says phase 2 elevation, that is a schematic of one type of cofferdam, yes.
Okay.
So that's the 7-foot wide maintained zone of water flow through there?
Correct.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
I actually believe it's slightly larger than the 7 feet. I think Army Corps requires us to maintain a minimum of 50% of the original opening.
I remember back in February, there was, when we met in the field, there was some question about removal of some of the trees. Was that resolved? I remember that in order to build it, it appeared that there were additional trees, at least in West Newbury. Can't recall about Newburyport, but I remember there was some issue whether you could, you might have to remove additional trees.
Yeah, the Newburyport Commission, West Newbury Commission wanted to know, I'm going to find that document right now for you, wanted to know how many trees are going to be removed. And I believe it was, I think it was 10 saplings and 7 trees and 1 snag across the entire project area. I can, if you give me, I can forward that if you want to know how many. I think it was only 1 tree, possibly 2 trees in the city of Newburyport.
Yeah, my question kind of leads into, for the trees removed, are they going to be replaced or are they going to be mitigated in some way?
We would probably not want to replace the trees just because of the location of them, and there'll be a retaining wall there on both sides of the road. So I generally wouldn't to put trees back in the same locations. You may be able to put some in front of the retaining wall, but generally, I don't think they should go back into the locations that they were at previously.
Yeah, that makes sense, but as far as, something within the project site or within the laydown area or anything along those lines, does that seem reasonable?
It's something that we can figure out something.
I believe that they're looking at using the existing roadway as for lay down area. So
Are you looking for like a replication of the trees that are lost?
Yeah, that's essentially
Yeah.
what I was getting at.
Yeah, let us look into it a little more.
Yeah, that's fine. That's something, we can possibly require 2 trees to be, or replace any trees taken down, somewhere adjacent to the roadway.
Okay.
That, we're not looking for 10-inch diameter trees put in there. Something simple.
Yeah, and it could be right into the order of conditions.
Okay. Yeah,
And
if there's a particular area you'd like them also, please let us know.
And I will get back to Julia on exactly how many there were.
Okay.
Because I believe it was either 1 or 2.
Mhm.
Are they significantly sized trees? The
They
existing ones?
were, no, it was like 6 inches,
Okay. Because I think the goal, David, and the
6-inch
commission
DBH.
would probably just want to make sure that we're replacing any lost important habitat and adjacent to the reservoir. So if it's something significant coming down, that would be important to replace it.
But 6-inch trees are good size too, so.
Yeah, I'll have to double check. It was they were all 3 to 7 inches, but that was across both towns. So I would just have to double check which ones were where.
But regardless of the size,
Understood. Habitat's habitat. I
yeah,
definitely
2
understand,
or
yeah.
3-inch trees, any replacement trees can be, if there's 2 of them, they can be the same size. Whatever. We'll keep it simple.
So, there was an article in the Daily News last week about concerning the increase in construction costs. And there was kind of a throwaway sentence in there that said something about Newburyport having a lack of interest in the project. And that's all it said. Do you know what that's all about? Or Julia?
No one's telling me that stuff. No, I don't know any. I haven't heard that. It'd be interesting to see what they was. It the reporter or was someone quoted in Newburyport as saying
No,
that?
it was the reporter, I believe.
Well,
Like, the cost, the increase in construction costs was implied that Newburyport didn't have any interest in the project anymore, which I found hard to believe.
Maybe there was just no interest in paying any more money. I don't can only guess.
No. Anybody else?
Yeah, is there a graphic with the sort of where the treatment units and the tanks are going to go?
Yeah.
Proposed conditions is going to be a few slides up. One more. Okay, 2 more, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Right
we
there,
go.
yeah.
The treatment units would be the circles with the D in them.
Okay.
Right here. These are the catch basins, the little squares.
Correct.
Right. Down to the outfall.
And they don't change the original design or width or disturbance areas by the installation of those?
There's 116 square feet of additional impact to riverfront area where that stone pad is.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But that's the only, there's no additional impact to land underwater, bank, or BLSF.
So where that stone pad is that on at the bottom of the slope? Is it at water level, above water level? What's the elevation of that actual outfall sort of riprap?
It would be above the water level. I don't know the exact elevation. I can get that for you though.
Yep. Okay. So I'm just wondering what type of impacts the construction of that little zone is having. It sounds like it won't add to the number of trees coming down though, correct?
No, we chose it in a location where it would have as little impact as we could muster.
Okay.
It looks like it's above the high water line, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I think when we were out there, we talked about, some staging areas and disturbance with trucks and traffic. Did you give that any thought in?
The staging area, yes. The contractor would be proposing a staging area that the commission could discuss with the contractor. It'd be what I would have be the staging area. There's a length of road that would be shut down, so it'd be on the road actually. That way, it's not disturbing an area that's presently pristine.
I'm just looking at this sketch here, and it shows right where on the sort of the corner where the outfall is going to be from the new water quality unit, that there's a tree to be protected right there, but it looks like an area where there's going to be some construction necessary. So do you feel like it's realistic to protect that tree, or do we need to take a look at that tree and see whether most likely it's going to end up coming down and needing to be replaced?
If it was going to impact that tree that we're going to protect, we can also move the piping and the location of the water quality unit. The catch basins, those are generally want to stay where they're at. We want them as close to the bridge as possible. Generally, what we're trying to do is any roadway flow, we don't want it crossing over the bridge just because the bridge usually freezes before. So we'd want those the same, but we could tweak the location of the water quality unit.
Okay. Is that something that you think should be determined or would be determined now by you guys looking at it, or would you leave that to the, I'm nervous to leave that to the contractor.
We can take another look at it. There's, even if Street View didn't have enough information, someone could go out there and take a look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, being as close as it is to the roadway and, how tight things are, I mean, I don't think we're so much looking to protect every single tree if it's, if the design itself is, I'd hate for some of these trees to impact in the future that we're trying to protect. So probably a good idea to make a decision on it.
Okay.
I mean, we're not saying you can't take the tree out. We just, if you do, we like something, for it.
No, understandable.
The dewatering. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, you can just add that to whatever other trees you're going to replace too. That's, you definitely don't want it affecting the roadway after all this. Go ahead, Julie.
The dewatering, just had a question. You mentioned that the contractor will be putting together the dewatering and stabilization plan to be submitted to the commission for review and approval. Do you believe, I feel like we've talked about this before, but do you believe that it's possible for them to keep that entire dewatering system on the roadway staging area as well? Or will they want to maybe put it offside the road in the
They
vegetation?
may want to try to put it offside the road, but we can strongly recommend. We can say that the commission would prefer. Generally, they are nervous about opposing something that the commission's already has a feeling towards. So that would be my I can strongly recommend to them. If not, then they would have to get approval of the commission, and they may not get approval if they want to put it somewhere else.
But you think it's possible, so like conceivably, feasibly, they could make it work if they had to put it on the road.
Yeah, and it may be something where it's tucked off the road a little bit, but the great portion, just so they can get vehicles around easily.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but
Okay,
they can make it longer rather than wider.
okay.
Julie and John Eric White just came in too.
Oh, good. Okay, I'll move him over. Making you a panelist, John Eric.
Thank you.
Okay. So
Are
I
you
have
done?
as
Go ahead, Julie.
I have as a sort of a draft special condition that the contractor shall propose a dewatering stabilization plan that locates the dewatering treatment area within the already paved area to the greatest extent possible. And then you could say something like, the plan shall be submitted to the Conservation Commission for review and approval.
That sounds reasonable.
Okay. John Eric, your timing was great. We got most of our questions taken care of.
I was on a Merrimack Street striping plan Zoom meeting with the Public Safety Committee. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Anything controversial that you need me to chime in on? Or Micah does a great job, so I assume he got you, he answered everything, all your questions, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Do we have anything else?
On a personal note, I want to thank everybody for pushing me out of the snow on that day.
Oh,
Thank you very
that's
much.
right.
You saved my ass. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I took a picture, but I deleted it because I didn't like what I didn't want to keep it.
Quite the commission. That's
The
all I have
engineer,
to say.
you know, that'd make the front page of the New York Post or the Boston Herald, you know? Engineer gets caught and, yeah.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you.
Do we have anything else? Not hearing anything. Anything from the public? Any comments? Raise your hand if you'd like to speak.
I actually have one more question. Do we have any idea of the time frame till this is completed?
We still have to get it through Chapter 85 review with the state, so there is that portion of it. Then it's making sure that both towns have the funding, which I can't really comment on. So I'm not quite sure when it's going to be going out for construction.
Okay.
I have one more question as well. It's related to the pedestrian walkway on one side. I'm sure you guys have seen people fish off of both sides of that pretty regularly. Is there any anticipated sort of area on the other side of the road where the sidewalk isn't, where people will still be able to stand and fish and whatnot?
That's a question we don't want to officially answer, Julia.
Really? I'm
We
just
don't wanna-
thinking,
Yeah.
it's currently, you know how it's currently used. We're like a little mini public park than a roadway. And so even before when it was operational, I think people were on both sides of that bridge, right?
But there weren't sidewalks. Were there sidewalks on this bridge? The current one?
No.
Oh, so
No, so
they're at
just
their own
shoulders.
risk.
Okay,
Julia, we started with a sidewalk on both sides. Conceptually, it was always something that I wanted and a lot of people wanted for the safety, but MassDOT is not in the business of building and, you know, allowing bridges to be built for fishing use, you know what I mean? So then it gets tricky. So then we got it on one side, and recently we had a internal meeting with City Hall folks, and there was a request to remove the sidewalk that we have now because of the cost of the bridge. And I explained that it's better to have at least one safety zone, because turning a blind eye, I don't think helps anybody.
Oh, yeah, and it's a heavily used public walkway. I mean, that's like a walking, jogging, biking route for so many people to,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we
well, I'm
would be
glad you
remiss if we didn't provide something.
Yeah.
So both sides was really asking for it, especially for the money. Micah, wasn't it like, you know, $4 or $500,000 for,
It would be over $500,000, and then
that's what I thought, over $500,000 for just to add the sidewalk.
the other issue is there'd be greater environmental impacts, because the road would have to be widened. Or you'd have to fill in areas of the reservoir in order to meet up with that, so there would be greater environmental impacts.
No. It's a wider area underneath the bridge, so maybe more fish will go on the sidewalk side. All right, we do have one question from the public, Sam Jocelyn.
Okay. All right, I've allowed you to unmute yourself, Sam.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yep. Yep.
So I'm not actually Sam. I'm on Sam's account. This is Wayne from DPW West Newbury. So I'm undercover right now. I'm on Sam's account. I just want to echo John Eric's concern regarding the sidewalk on one side. When I was over in Newburyport, we talked about this before we started doing the design with BSC. And then as I moved over to West Newbury, it was strongly suggested that we go with at least one sidewalk for people to fish and feel safe. And then Julia made a great point about, you know, even as somebody who's jogging or walking, at least you'll have one side that you know you could favor as you're walking, doing your morning walk, that you know when you cross the bridge, it's going to be a safe crossing. So that was a no-brainer for one. And then we were daydreaming about two, and we figured out the cost, and we almost died when we heard the cost of one sidewalk. Then we heard the cost of number two. So I think that's how we came with just one.
Got it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
All right, we have anything else? If not, what would we like to do?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second,
Roll call, Paul Healy,
yes.
Steve Moore,
Yes.
Dan Warshaw.
Yes.
All right. You didn't answer last time, Dan. I need you to answer this time. David Vine,
Yes.
Ron DeCola,
Yes.
Carol Wagon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And Julia, I will follow up with an email as discussed.
Sounds great. Perfect. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Can I get a motion to close the public hearings?
So moved.
Moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So we can go to enforcement and violations. And
Yep.
Go ahead, Julie.
We will, sorry, Joe and you all discussed the Gloria Bronhardt Trail at the last meeting and the work that was taking place up there, which shouldn't have been and was in violation. And so the notice of violation we talked about sending out was just sent out yesterday. So I put the date of June 1st for a response from Jerry Mullins on that. So this will be on our next agenda.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So we'll do that next time. Now, orders of conditions for the City of Newburyport Upper Artichoke Reservoir Dam, notice of intent 051-1047.
Okay, so they've revised the plans that show the water quality units and the discharge. The only special condition that we discussed related to those new elements of the plan was the one about the protection of the tree. So a special condition that I drafted was construction of the water quality unit shall not impact the quote tree to be protected as shown on the approved plans. If necessary to protect the tree, the location of the water quality unit may be adjusted. And changes submitted to the commission. That sound good?
I personally didn't have an issue with them removing the tree if they needed
Okay.
to.
Okay,
I would like all the trees that are removed to be replaced.
okay, I see. So rather than getting them to move the water quality unit, we would just say any trees disturbed as part of the proposed project within Newburyport shall be replaced in kind within the project area.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah,
Well,
because I
the
think
only
there was
thing you
one-
might add to that would be to have them alert us and then replace, if
Yeah.
it's anything beyond what's on the plans.
So any trees removed or destroyed or damaged during construction of the project shall be cataloged and or be recorded and sent to the commission with a report to the commission and then replaced in kind within the project area.
Yeah, just so they don't start going all out,
Yeah.
knocking down
Okay.
trees.
Yeah, I'm concerned about what they mean by protected because it looked like it was pretty close to where they're going to be digging a ditch for that pipe. And if they're cutting the tree's roots,
Yeah,
sure, the bark might not show any damage, but if the roots are cut, that's going to be a problem.
yeah. I'd rather not have them expand the any kind of footprint or
Right.
make a further mess
Yeah.
to save that one tree and just replace it.
Right.
Yeah, and we don't want them trying to get around it, but actually really damaging it and then saying that they saved it and then it dying 3 years later.
Mhm.
So do we want them to present an inventory of all trees expected to be removed or damaged prior to construction? Along with the plan to replace those trees?
Sure.
Would think so.
Let's do that. I'd rather get that ahead of time.
And then what happens if there's additional trees that end up being compromised? They have to come back to us or?
We'll
just
put
have
that as a condition too, that can be the condition that any trees removed, destroyed, or damaged during construction shall be recorded on a plan and with photographs, and all shall be replaced in kind within the project area. We'll also have a special condition that says prior to the start of construction, the applicant shall provide an inventory of all trees expected to be removed during construction and a plan for their replacement. So we'll get both.
Okay.
It'll sound much better than that when I actually write it down.
We got anything else?
That was it.
Okay. Go ahead, Paul.
Motion to issue the order of conditions.
Second,
All right, roll call. Paul Haley,
Yes.
Steve Moore,
yes.
Dan Warshall,
Yes.
David Vine,
Yes,
Ron DeCola,
Yes.
Carol Wagon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right. That was a quick one. Anybody got anything else?
Yeah, can we talk about the Maskowitz land? Does the city have right of first refusal on that, or is selling it a done deal?
We should have right of first refusal. It's chapter 61A or whatever that is.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. We do have right of first refusal on it. The question, if they put it on the market, the question is,
Well,
would we even need to purchase it? Because although I think it would be great if we could, but the development, it's zoned as agriculture already, so there's not a lot that anyone could do there. I think a developer may try to get special permits and, you know, variances or get it rezoned, but I don't think the city would be interested in making any changes.
Yeah, and there's you know, most of the frontage on that is within, which zone is that? Zone A or whatever it is, zone 1. I get confused as to
Oh,
what-
it's the zone, yeah, it's the zone A of the surface water supply.
So that's one issue, and the rest of it's zone B, I think, and so they might have issues with developing that further anyways, but it would be nice if the city had it.
It
Well, it
would
must
be,
be-
and
there must be quite a bit of money in the open space fund at this point. They haven't spent any in quite a while, and every year you have to put money into it. Paul, do you know how much is in it?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how much we do have, but I have a feeling it's in the order of 700,000 or 800,000.
800,000?
7 or 8, yeah.
Okay.
well, you
Yeah.
know,
Go ahead, Julie.
I was just say the commission might want to write a letter to the mayor's office or to the planning office or whoever, the water board, just indicating support for not allowing it to be developed in whatever way that needs to happen, whether it's through purchase of the land or not allowing any zoning variances or changes to the zoning. Might be a, you know, a nice statement to make.
Yeah, if you can write something up for us and circulate it. I know that the Maskowitz land was one of the top priorities for the Open Space Committee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would be really nice to own that. And again, you know, maybe the hayfield becomes the pollinator field.
Yeah,
Right.
Somebody tell me where this land is located. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
it's on Turkey Hill Road. As you're coming from, like you go down Hale Street to the end and you take the left down Turkey Hill, you'll come around a big bend and you'll see the artichoke on the right and like an open area on the left. And you go past that, there's a house, there's a farmhouse you'll go by too. And that's all there. I can send you a map if you want, Carol.
No, I think I know exactly where you're talking about.
Can you spell it?
Can I spell it? No, I cannot spell it. Absolutely not.
It starts with an M.
Yeah, I
Okay,
can send you the spelling.
okay, please. I don't want to, you know, have it wrong in the minutes.
No, you don't. All right.
I have a question about the Evergreen and their response to the butters questions that they were going to formalize in writing. Is there any progress on that?
I haven't gotten anything from them yet, and it's supposed to be on our agenda for the next meeting on June 1st. So I will get in touch with Tom tomorrow and see if they are working on it. Hopefully they are. And if not, they can start soon. But yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a good thing for them it'd be a good thing that we make sure that that just doesn't drift away.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that looked like quite a list of issues to deal with. Looks like it'll take some time to work through as well, I imagine.
Yep.
I would think.
And we still also do need a response back from them on the notion of a fence on the city's water to protect the city's water supply protection land.
Right.
So
Attorney Mead told you it's too expensive, Julia.
I'm afraid that I'm not
Struggle
an
with that.
expert on fences, but $50,000 for a split rail fence, it's what, 100, 200 feet long?
It was
Sounds
hard
a
to
bit
believe.
excessive.
Yeah. And also the pathway up to meet up with the highway pedestrian trail. We're working on that too. And we will be asking them for, even if it's not feasible right now, to get DOT to agree to make that pathway connection that we all looked at. If the applicant can at least design that connection so that we have a shovel-ready project if and when DOT does agree in sometime in the future to allow that connection, then we can construct it. That would be helpful, and it actually saves them a lot of money from having to do it themselves, which is something that they agreed to do. So both doing that plan and putting up the fence would be cheaper than them having to construct the trail connection that they said they were going to do. So
Yeah, but then the city has to find the money to do it.
eventually we may or we may not, but at least we would have a design, and
Yeah.
at least we'd have something shovel ready. If we had a grant that we could use to make that connection, then it would be ready to go at a minimum, rather than just letting it die and never being able to pick it up again.
Yeah, one would think a shovel-ready project might be handy if there's a infrastructure bill
Right.
passed.
Great. So that's sort of what we're trying to negotiate right now as well. And I know the planning board just recently met, and I gave them all of the commission's comments from our meeting about the fence and about all the other things. I think everyone's on the same page.
Good. All right.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Dan. You never said hi to me.
I'm sorry.
I feel so sad.
I couldn't unmute fast enough, and then I was like, oh, well, we're moving on.
We do have
What-
somebody waiting to talk.
We do? Oh, okay. Bill, you have comment?
Yes, Bill Brown, 10 Duffy Drive. I just wanted to make a few comments. We're not expecting that there's going to be any more comments from the residents of the Evergreen project. We had submitted to the Conservation Commission, to Julie and to Andy Port, a document that contained all of our comments with regard to the project. And I think that you should be aware that I have been meeting by Zoom with Andy and Julia, another member, I believe, of the planning department.
Jennifer.
Yes, Jennifer, starting last April, because we had a lot of questions with regard to the permit and what we're getting, what we're not getting. And we went through 2 iterations of getting sort of questions answered, and we're basically down to the questions that are left. So the document was actually much longer than it is. And it's basically the essence of what we think needs to be done and addressed. And I think that it's, helpful that, there's another set of eyes on this as well. So you do have that information. I also submitted a letter, I believe it was last week, to Julie and to Andy with regard to the dumping. And we have a neighbor that saw a contractor when they were building one of the houses across the street, wheel sod that was dumped in the back over here. And that was last October. There is another bigger pile of soil that was dumped as well, sort of down from there. And nobody recalls anyone seeing anyone dumping there. But it's way up on top of the hill, and it'd be difficult for, a person in the neighborhood who, I don't think anybody has a wheelbarrow to wheel things up there. And I'm thinking that it is potentially contractors that have done that. I think we as neighbors would prefer not to have a fence because it's going to be essentially sort of in the middle of the meadow that's out there, unless the fence is put up against the woods. But there's a preference not to have a fence. And I think that, we can talk with the neighbors, and I don't think that the neighbors did those 2 piles. I don't know if there's any more piles or not. But we can police it and make sure that it doesn't happen if it is happening because of the neighbors.
Yeah, well, we basically need there to be no dumping out there, and we need.
No, I completely agree. Yeah,
we need
I completely
assurances.
agree. So that's the only comments that I had.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Bill?
All right.
One more question. Are we considering switching back to in-person meetings anytime soon?
That's a good question. I was saying before, at the very beginning of the meeting, that the city council has been looking into how to start doing that. And they're putting together a plan to do a hybrid meeting, I believe, with the planning board. And it's complicated because of doing public comment and making sure that everybody either at home or in the meeting is seeing the same thing. And that if there are counselors or, let's say, commissioners sort of live in the room in the meeting, but then there are also commissioners at home, how do the people viewing see both unless everyone's on Zoom in either case? So it's just a little complicated, but they are working on it. They're working it out. I think the city council will get there first and maybe just sort of pilot test some things. And then it will probably trickle down to the other boards and commissions. I'll let you know if I haven't received any instructions or anything from anybody yet about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you're going to need, whoever's remote's going to need to be able to hear everybody in the room, including anybody from the public.
Right.
I don't think it won't be a big deal to have, the remote commissioners, because it'll look like this on some sort of a screen. And Julie can just she can just put the same image up on the screen in the room wherever we are. But it's, hearing people and seeing folks that would be an issue, and we may need webcams and other things.
Exactly. There may be some additional equipment that's needed. That's right. So, and there's the other component, which is that we've been hearing from a lot of people that they prefer to attend it by Zoom rather than in person because it's more convenient. So we don't want to, discourage attendance by going back to in-person meetings. I doubt that would happen, but there's just a lot of discussion about it.
Yeah, it's nice having a quorum. We didn't not have a quorum for an entire year or more than an entire year,
Right.
which is a record.
Mhm.
Generally, how many times did you call in from New Hampshire, Steve? At
in the
least
last
twice.
year, yeah, 3 or 4 times. Yeah.
Yeah, and Julie more or less connected most of her times.
Until there is a monsoon
Yeah,
that knocked me out.
Yeah, I think having these things on Zoom has worked out quite well, and I personally would like to see it continue. Although it would be nice to meet in person once in a while.
Yeah.
we can always go out for drinks after.
Yep. I do think that would be good to do every once in a while.
At least I got a couple smiles, thanks.
We'd have to
All
make our meetings, keep our meetings short like this, and then we can all go out afterwards.
Exactly. Not these long ones that
Thanks.
Steve has.
Right.
All right, we got anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Good night, folks.
See you in
Thank you.
June.
Everyone.
See you in
Thank
June.
you.